Mr. Robbie Mertz. Welcome back, man. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me on. Another season.
Another season for sure. Before we get into it, it feels like we're already knee deep into the preseason. Obviously, how was your off season, man?
It was good. Lots of travel. Probably wouldn't know that I'm one of the Pittsburgh guys on the team. Definitely make my rounds in the off season, but it was good. It was a good one.
Good. I'm curious. You're a pretty intense guy on the field, not so much off the field. What does relaxing look like to you?
These days, pretty boring. I think as I've gotten a little bit older, spending time with my wife, we're chilling a lot. We cook together. I do play golf with a lot of the guys on the team, whoever's interested in playing during the summers. But yeah, reading. I'm a big reader these days as well. So yeah, pretty boring off the field, I guess.
Would you consider yourself a good golfer?
I would consider myself bang average.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the guys on the team are below average, I would say.
I guess it's still a little bit competitive there. I love it. From what we've been able to see of practice and preseason so far, you seem to have really come in kind of firing on all cylinders. Did you approach the offseason any differently this year?
Not really, to be honest. I would say I think like going into the off season physically, strangely enough, I felt pretty good. So I didn't really feel the need to take too much time off. So I guess maybe that helped me, like kind of when I got back into the thick of the off-season training. I wasn't really starting from scratch. That would maybe be a slight difference, but I think that as time has gone on, just year to year, like continue to dial certain things in as you get experience and as you learn yourself a little bit. And I also think just sort of letting go a little bit as well and not being so tense. And it's easier to do that in the preseason than it is once you get into the heat of the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing. I do some work with some high school players, and it's funny how when we're just playing pickup, everyone's so loose and it's free, and then the second you get into a real game, everyone like tenses up, and it's just like just be cool. So I get that entirely. One of the things we've been talking a lot about as it relates to the Riveters is sort of all of this local talent, and sort of you're a local guy. We hear a lot of these women that are coming up through Fox Chapel and Murraysville. I'm just curious from your perspective as a local guy, just sort of thoughts on the increase of local talent being funneled into sort of semi-pro and pro teams here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. There's a lot of really successful girls players in the college game. That are going to come, I think, in the summer and play for the Riveters, which is great. And I think that's been a long time coming. A lot of them have come up through the academy, and that's why they want to return and contribute to that team, which is great. And it's a testament to what the academy is doing. And I think, I would say on the boys' side, there's still room for growth, and hopefully we continue to get more and more guys pushing on to the higher levels of the college game and into the pro game. I think that's still a work in progress in a lot of ways, but it's something that is growing and continuing to get better.
You obviously played in college. Do you think something like a USL2 team here in Pittsburgh would sort of help the development of that?
Potentially, yeah. We actually had one previously. I don't know if that's something you knew, but I was part of a U23 team going into my freshman year at Michigan. So that was almost 10 years ago now. But that was through the Riverhounds. And now that's called USL2. So I think, yeah, that would be something that would be beneficial, certainly for to sort of be like a bridge for some of the younger players that are coming up in the academy. Because certainly there's a lot of talent in the Pittsburgh region on the boys' side. And so for them to get that opportunity, it definitely was a step up and something that helped me transition into my time at Michigan without making such a big leap into, the USL championship, which, each season continues to improve in terms of the level. So that is quite a big jump for these young guys. Not that they're incapable of making the jump or shouldn't, but that bridge is nice to have as well.
Yeah, for sure. Sean Suber, and I talked a little bit earlier in the preseason, and he mentioned sort of a change in system from this year compared to last season. Now, he may have been gaslighting us. I don't know. But has there been a bit of a change of system, and do you have a sense of how that change could potentially impact you and whether or not that plays to your strengths?
Um, yeah, there's been adjustments that I think have been made based on, I think some of it was where we intended to go last year, but maybe just uh, didn't have the horses for, like, once we got into the season and we realized like we kind of needed to stick with certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now we feel like we have the personnel to implement some of these changes. So it's good. I think we recognized this was something that we talked about last year, and I think you might have even discussed it on the show. Like, we need to find a way to be more ball dominant. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're like out possessing teams to like such a great degree, but like we just needed to be on the ball more over the course of games, especially on the road. So I think that's part of it. And yeah, I think everyone's still learning their roles in this system, and certainly, we've seen in the past that things can change in the first few months of the season in terms of what the staff is looking to do and where they're looking to place players. So I'm not gonna say that like where I'm playing now is gonna be the permanent position for this year. That could certainly change, but I think it's just a matter of everybody buying in and trying to fulfill the roles that they're being assigned.
Bob's not playing you at center back, is he?
No, I think that's something that we'll never see, probably.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm just curious too. From your perspective, we've only, as fans, really been able to see two games just because of how things have played out. One of them was in a snowstorm, so we really don't have a sense of where things are. You and I talked last year amidst some of the offensive struggles, and it seems like there's been a sort of a concerted effort to fix that. I think you guys are at +8 in goal differential in the preseason. Obviously, it's preseason, not including the Columbus game because we don't know what actually happened there. But do you think that emphasis on offense, or a bit more of an emphasis on offense, is a fair assessment? Or do you think that the goals, A, can just be contributed to preseason, and B, could be contributed to sort of what you were discussing about just sort of the system in general, being more possessive and having the horses to do what you guys wanted to do last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was something that held us back last year was, especially in the first part of the season. I think down the stretch in the back half of the year when we put together quite a good run, we were actually probably one of the better scoring teams, but our struggles early on really hindered us. So I think we know that like out of the gate, we can't just rely on the defensive abilities of the team. I think we're confident that we'll be at minimum in the top half defensively. But we know that we need to have a sense of urgency going forward and score some goals starting out. Because I think, we just in general, we know that we need to start better than we did last year. And there's a sense of urgency around that. In order to do that, you have to win games. In order to win games, you got to score goals. So I think all of that is part of our mindset, just kind of a learning experience from last season. I don't want to say it's like everything's reactive to what happened last year, but certainly there was a big learning curve there.
Yeah, for sure. Totally random question now. Have you ever seen the show Community?
I have not.
Okay, so there's the reason why I ask, and I'll sort of lay like the ground, don't shoot the messenger here. There's this concept out there of an air quotes like evil Robbie, where last year you and I talked about you had the gash on your head, you played with a headband, and like I think you scored a goal, maybe 2 goals like that next game, and everyone was like, keep the headband around. Yeah. And then you now have some facial hair and there's some more grit to your game, and so there's this concept of like an evil Robbie and how like you play with more of an edge and a bit more grit. I'm not saying that's true or not, but have you heard of this? And I'm just curious what your reactions are to that.
I hadn't heard about it. I'm actually surprised it took this long for the nickname to come about, because I think in general, like the guys who know me well in the team, they know that I'm quite different on the field than I am off. I think I'm just a hyper competitive person. Always have been. It's not something I've tried to reel in, but at the same time, like I think it's part of me that's sort of gotten me to this point in my career. So you can't you don't want to hold yourself back too much when that's something you need for the game of soccer.
For sure.
But yeah, and then last year, I think we were in a difficult point in the season. It just felt like we maybe needed a little bit of a change. The facial hair came from, it was actually, I mean, it's terrible, but it was a goalless drought beard. We had a really tough month of June, and I was like, I'm just not going to shave until we score again.
Yeah.
And then I think a game or two later, we went for 5 on Oakland. So,
Yeah.
and that was, I think that was right around the time of the headband as well. The headband's not coming back. I don't like seeing pictures of that. So hopefully I don't get my head split open anymore this year. But yeah, I think I do have a little bit of that dark side for sure. And sometimes it can be visible from the fan standpoint, sometimes maybe not, but that's just who I am on the field.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. I think people have been using it as a term of endearment. It was just, I was curious if you had heard that in your thoughts on that. You guys obviously wrap up the preseason with 2 games this week. You literally have a game later this afternoon against Loudoun. What has most impressed you about the squad that you guys have so far?
Right now, the thing that sticks out is the contributions we're getting from the new guys, some of whom I think are still unnamed to the public.
Yeah.
But we've gotten a lot of contributions from some of these guys who have been on trial, and now some of them have signed with us and will be with us for the whole year, which is great, because I think, when we've had the most success, we've had squads that have been deep, and we've been able to trust guys coming off the bench, and it seems like that's what we have here. But I think at the same time, with some of the opponents we've had, like, we don't want to put too much weight on the preseason. We actually had a good preseason last year too, and then I think we were a little unprepared just psychologically for what was coming in the regular season. So I think there's an emphasis now of things are going to take a step forward in intensity next weekend when we go to North Carolina. And this week as well, because we've got 2 tough exhibitions this week. So I think that those will be good preparation for us. But I do think, we've gotten a lot of contributions there from some of the new guys, and hopefully that will continue throughout the year, because if it does, we'll have success.
You mentioned the game next weekend against North Carolina. From your perspective, what else would you like to see the team improve upon between now and next weekend?
I think from my standpoint, we have done a good job of implementing some of these concepts, and maybe there's some changes in terms of the style that we're trying to play. But I think for me, it's not necessarily an improvement from here on out. It's actually just going back to our roots and understanding the identity that we've sort of formed over the last 5, 6, 7 years, like staying true to who we are, which is a team that's going to be very difficult to play against. Games against us are going to be high intensity, and it's going to be difficult for the other team to handle. And I think so, and the defensive responsibilities as well, because again, that's been a hallmark of our team. So we can't get away from that. If we're going to be successful this year, we got to stick to that identity. And I think just reminders of that to our group will go a long way.
Yeah, love it. Last question, I'll get you out here. I've been asking all the guys this preseason, lots of changes coming in 2025, new turf, potential stadium expansion, new kits, the Jägermeister Cup, Riveters. What are you most looking forward to personally?
Is new turf coming? This is news to me.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, apparently in April, you guys are getting new turf at Highmark.
No way. This is confirmed?
Yes.
All right. Well, you got my answer right there, because I've been very excited for that for a couple of years now. So if that's actually coming to fruition, very pumped about that. I think it'll change. We'll see how it turns out. I think it'll change some of the things that you might see at Highmark typically, and obviously we've had success at home. Yeah. So, you don't want to try to fix something that's not broken, but I think from a player standpoint, we'd be very excited about that.
Well, now I'm curious. So, as a player, what is the biggest difference to you between the existing turf and new turf? Like, how will that impact you? Is it softer? Does it play faster? Or just like, what are you looking forward to about it?
Yeah, I think softer is probably the best way to summarize it. As it's gotten worn down a little bit, it's become quite firm, and um, just in the little subtleties of the game, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Again, we've had success doing it. Maybe that's partially because the other teams aren't used to playing on it. So there's that. But I think hopefully it'll suit our style a little bit to get an improved surface in there.
Yeah. Well, Robbie, always appreciate the time. I know you guys have a game against Loudon this afternoon. Best of luck there. Best of luck with the rest of the preseason. And here's to a quick start to the 2025 season.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.